Super. I've never used one of these. We'll see how this goes. Yeah, about me. I grew up in New Jersey, Point Pleasant, New Jersey. If you look at a map of New Jersey, dead center, all the way on the coast. I was a beach kid. I moved to Raleigh. I currently live in Raleigh, but I teach at City High School with Mike Morris. You heard from him a little while ago. Completely different environment, completely different area of the world, obviously, but where I was heavy suburban, where I grew up, now super rural. I was lucky enough that I had lots of friends who were involved in, and I apologize for my voice, I have a tremor. It gets worse when I don't take my medication. I did not take my medication this morning. I was running late, totally forgot. So sounds like I'm shaking. It's because I am. I apologize. So moving out here, I realized that kids are kind of all over the place, right? You don't have too much of a centralized neighborhood where kids know each other up and down the street, so on and so forth. Again, I was lucky enough. I grew up in an area where everybody was pretty centralized, and I had friends who were in emergency services, or they had parents who were in emergency services. So at a young age, I knew how our emergency services worked in our town. I knew some of the people who were in emergency services, so on and so forth. I was lucky enough to be partnered with Nash Community Emergency Services. I had no idea that I was going to be partnered with them, which I thought was awesome. Because as it turned out, I too was a volunteer firefighter when I lived in New Jersey. So now I get to see how all of the emergency services work together, how the logistics work, who's involved in what, so on and so forth, if that makes sense. So in working with Nash Community Emergency Services, I got to go on a ride along. I looked at all sorts of different fire stations, EMS stations. What else? We went and saw. They showed me how the power grid works, so on and so forth, just in case of any sort of emergency when it comes to power, when it comes to transportation, all that good stuff. They explained to me how the logistics worked. Like I said, I got to go on a ride along with EMS services. That was really cool. So my goal for our school, and I don't know if Mike explained it too much, but our students come in and they choose a pathway. They decide more or less what they would like to do for the rest of their lives in 8th grade, the summer before 9th grade. So those pathways are, I think we've got 9 or 10, but they're still a little bit limited, right? So my goal with this project was to open it up to students, to show them that there are careers, really worthy careers throughout emergency services. I got to see the 911 call dispatch center. Just a lot of times we take that for granted, I think, in that we don't consider all of the people and all of the jobs that are involved in everything that keeps our community safe. So again, my big goal for this was to show kids where everything was. This was more or less the lesson plan. What I did was a full hurricane scenario. I ran them through, should, God forbid, a terrible storm hit Nash County. How does emergency services respond? We had emergency services come in. Erica, I can't remember her last name, Poole, I believe. She gave a presentation to my students explaining what all of the equipment that they had, who had to get it, where it had to come from, who you had to contact in order to get it. Because a call goes to 911, then where does it go? Anybody?
The relevant EMS.
Yeah, but it's got to go through a bunch of different channels, right? So police are responsible for certain emergency vehicles. Fire is responsible for certain emergency vehicles, so on and so forth. So you have to know sort of the protocol. So we did that through a presentation when Erica came. And then the next day, I threw it out. I said, this is going to be hectic. You know it's going to be hectic. We're going to do different scenario. I'm going to do a 911 call, and that's the input cards. Do I have that on here? Somewhere. This one. Oh, here it is. This is the actual scenario. So they were each given roll cards. We separated into groups. One was law enforcement, one was fire EMS, one was 911 dispatchers. What was the other one? I can't remember. Shoot, sorry. But anyway, everybody got a different role, and they were required to respond according to whatever that role was. These were the newsflash teasers, just to get them interested. And then this is the form they had to fill out. So team, what your individual role was, what time the call came in, what the incident actually was, what action you took, and this is all directly from the 911 dispatch center. This is more or less how they fill out their paperwork, only they got computers and technology, all that good stuff. Here are the actual, there we go. So, ChatGPT, oh man, how wonderful. I don't know the area very well. I do not know addresses. The internet does. So I typed it into the internet. I said, give me some different scenarios. Give me some different emergencies that are going to come up during a hurricane, but make it specific to Nash County. And I did it. Luckily, I got a couple of kids who said, oh, I know where that is. I live not too far around the corner, whatever it might be. It's pretty cool. The kids really, really enjoyed it. They certainly seemed to. Let me go back to this. There we go. I made my presentation very, very quick, or at least tried to. These are quotes, simple quotes from each of the kids. My favorite one was, it was too hard. It was too hectic. There was too much going on. We didn't know what to do. They were all over the room. I had video of it. I couldn't upload it for whatever wonderful technological reason. But we had kids shouting at each other, not in a mean way, but I asked for that fire truck 2 minutes ago. Why haven't you sent it out? We already told you we couldn't get that there at that time, so on and so forth. And again, like I said, the biggest goal for this was to show them and make them aware, at least, of all of the different careers that are involved in communities, in emergency services. They got that. I am in talks with our principal, with the coordinator at Nash Community in order to create a new pathway. So the hope is, starting maybe next year or the year after, we'll have an emergency services or an EMS pathway or a firefighter pathway, something like that. So, yeah, thank you.